The sun had just dipped below the jagged horizon, casting long shadows over the quiet town of Hollow Creek. June had always loved this time of evening, the way the sky turned a fiery orange, the stillness that settled like a breath held too long. But tonight, a strange sensation prickled at the back of her neck, making her shiver despite her light hoodie. It all started when she found the old pocket watch in her grandmother's attic. It was a tarnished, brass thing, inscribed with winding Celtic symbols that shimmered faintly in the low light. She'd held it for a moment, feeling the weight of history in her hand, before slipping it into her pocket and wandering outside. At first, she thought the watch was just a quirky heirloom, perhaps broken. But as she sat on her porch that evening, a sudden gust of wind caused her to glance down at her watch, its minute hand spinning furiously, then suddenly stopping. The world seemed to pause. Shadows lengthened. The distant dog's bark froze mid-bark. Then everything reset. June blinked, startled. The sky was the same orange, the air still. The wind was gone. She looked at the watch. Its hands had resumed ticking normally, as if nothing had happened. Confused, she shrugged it off, chalking it up to a strange trick of her mind. But days grew stranger. Each sunset brought an uncanny sense of déjà vu. She'd walk past the same creaking oak tree and hear a whisper carried on the wind, words she couldn't quite understand. Her watch's peculiar ticking sounded louder, as if it had a life of its own. And each sunset, the world seemed to grind to a halt, then flicker back to life, like a bad recording repeatedly skipping. One evening, June decided to test the watch's limits. She set it to midnight and dared herself to stay awake. As the clock struck 12, a sudden silence fell. Everything paused, her breathing, her heartbeat. Then, with an abrupt jolt, time snapped forward again. Nothing seemed different at first, but she noticed her clothes were wrinkled and her hair disheveled, as if she hadn't moved for hours. The days that followed became a relentless cycle. Every evening, the sunset returned, and with it, the same eerie moment where time froze. She began to notice that her surroundings subtly shifted during these loops. Her house felt colder. Familiar objects appeared slightly disarranged, moved from where she'd left them. Shadows seemed to linger longer, sometimes with unseen figures lurking just outside her vision. One night, June's curiosity overtook her fear. She stayed out past sunset, eyes fixed on her watch. As the world halted again, she saw something she hadn't noticed before. A faint figure pressing against her bedroom window, cloaked in shadow, watching her with glowing, empty eyes. Panic surged, and she tore open her door to confront it, but stepping outside only revealed the empty street, the same unnerving silence. Her watch's ticking felt like a heartbeat echoing in her skull. Days blurred into nights. Each cycle felt like a prison she couldn't escape. She confided in her best friend, Lily, but she dismissed June's fears as overactive imagination, a side effect of stress or lack of sleep. It wasn't until June experimented by changing her routine that she realized the cycles weren't fixed, yet the ghostly figure persisted, always watching. One evening, determined to end the nightmare, June grabbed the watch and took a hammer to it. The crystal shattered, sending tiny shards skittering across the porch. The strange symbols on the watch's face flickered and disappeared. For a moment, everything seemed normal, the sun setting, the world moving forward. But then, the air grew cold, and the shadows began to stretch unnaturally. The moment of calm shattered as the world lurched backward, almost like a film rewinding. June's surroundings warped. Her house flickered, her reflection in the mirror warbled and twisted. The shadowy figure appeared again, closer this time, reaching out with long, clammy fingers. Realizing perhaps her attempt to break free only sealed her fate, she ran outside, desperation clinging to her. A voice echoed in her mind, a whisper garbled and distant, warning her that some loops are better left unbroken, that time is a merciless master. Suddenly, everything snapped back into a horrifying stability. The watch reformed in her hand, pristine and unblemished, with its glowing symbols reappearing like scars on its surface. The shadow was gone. The world moved on normally, or so it seemed. But June knew better. She saw the faint shimmer of her neighbor's curtains ripple unnaturally, as if the fabric were made of shimmering water. She looked at her watch, its hands now ticking irregularly, as if uncertain of their own rhythm. Her heart pounded. She'd broken something she may never truly understand. That night, as she lay in bed, she felt it again, an unshakable feeling that she was destined to repeat, to be watched forever by a silent, unseen gaze. The watch's ticking grew louder, echoing strangely in her ears. Her eyes drifted shut, and the world faded into darkness. When she woke, the sun was rising over Hollow Creek. Everything seemed normal at first glance. But as she reached for her phone, she saw it, on the screen, a missed call from herself. When she listened to her voicemail, a distorted, guttural voice whispered, "Time is a loop. You can't escape it." And June realized, with cold dread, that she had become part of the endless cycle, forever watched, forever caught in the relentless grip of a mysterious, cursed time loop she might never break free from.